Through an anarcho-capitalist, Ancap, radical objectivist, and agorist lens, this bill represents a profound violation of individual rights, reason, and parental authority, and voluntary association. It subordinates objective reality, biological sex, as an immutable, observable fact grounded in reproductive biology, and rational parental judgment to state-enforced ideology, backed by the threat of imprisonment. Radical objectivism, Ayn Rand. Reality exists independently of consciousness. Reason is man's only means of knowledge. Individual rights are grounded in the requirements of human survival, qua man. Rational, volitional being. Force is the opposite of reason. Gender identity ideology, positing that subjective feelings override biological sex, is a revolt against reality. Anti-conceptual, mystical, and destruction to the self. Parents have the right and moral duty to guide their minor children based on evidence, not affirmed delusions that lead to irreversible harm like puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, or surgeries with high regret, detransition rates, and sterility. The state has no legitimate role in imposing one metaphysics over the other. Anarcho-capitalism, no initiation of force. The state is a monopoly on coercion. Laws like this expand its power over the most intimate domain, the parent-child relationship. Violating self-ownership and property rights is one's body and family. Protection from abuse is a pretext for totalitarianism. True abuse, physical violence, is already criminalized under general laws against assault. This bill creates thought crime, chilling voluntary discourse. Agorism, Samuel Edward Konkin III. Counter-economics, building a stateless order through voluntary black and gray markets, education, and parallel institutions that bypass the state. Agorists reject the state's moral authority to define valid parenting or therapy. Resistance comes via counter-economic practices, private networks, homeschooling, encryption, migration to freer jurisdictions, and voluntary associations that affirm biological reality. Proponents, government, Stonewall, etc., argue historical conversion therapy involved coercive, pseudoscientific abuses, electroshock, prayer camps for forcing orientation change that caused real psychological and physical harm, especially to vulnerable LGBT individuals. Minors need protection from parents or therapists using controlling tactics to suppress identity, framed as domestic abuse akin to coercion control. Evidence shows such practices don't change innate traits, but increase suicide risk. Banning abusive ones, causing serious harm, alarm, or distress, protects equality and mental health without broadening, criminalizing talk. Parental rights aren't absolute. The state has a parent's party role for child welfare, as in other abuse neglect laws. The bill targets only abusive acts with guardrails for legitimate healthcare, exploratory conversions. This Steelman acknowledges a real past abuses, forced diversion therapy for homosexuals, and the state's claimed duty to vulnerable children. It posits subjective distress as objective harm, warranting intervention. This bill fails on every principle. Objectively, biological sex is binary and immutable in humans. XX, XY, gametes, dimorphism, not a spectrum of identity. Affirming transgender identity in minors often involves medicalization based on weak evidence. The CAST review highlighted poor quality studies, social contagion, rapid onset gender dysphoria, especially in adolescent females, comorbidities, autism, trauma, same-sex attraction, and historically high distance rates without intervention. Puberty blockers lack strong evidence of net benefit and carry risks: bone density, fertility, sexual function, potential brain development impacts. Opposing this is not abuse, but rational risk assessment grounded in evidence. This bill's definitions are dangerously vague and subjective. Abusive acts, causing serious harm, alarm, or distress to change transgender identity. This captures parents refusing they/them pronouns or social transition, declining to fund blockers, hormone surgery, encouraging dissident via therapy exploring underlying causes, religious or philosophical guidance, affirming biology, teachers, schools maintaining sex-based realities for safeguarding. This inverts reality. The abuse becomes non-affirmation, while state-affirming pathways, often leading to medical harm, are exempted. It prioritizes feelings over reason and evidence. Parents initiating most reported cases highlights the state's war on family autonomy. Ancap view, the state claims ownership over children as proto-citizens, enforcing ideological conformity. This violates the non-aggression principle, NAP. Families are voluntary or should be associations. Disputes resolved privately, arbitration, reputation, ostracism, not via police, CPS. Unlimited fine plus 5 years prison for psychological influence is disproportionate coercion. Existing laws cover real violence, coercion. Objectivist ethics, rational self-interest demands parents act in the child's long-term flourishing, not indulge transient dysphoria that correlates with mental health crisis. The ideology demands others participate in the fantasy, compelled speech, violating rights to one's mind and speech. It collectivizes identity politics over the sovereign individual. Agorist lens, the bill accelerates the need for counter-economics. The state cannot be reformed, it must be bypassed. It reveals the red market, state violence over body's mind versus the gray-black market of voluntary resistance. Agorists counter state power not by petitioning but by building alternatives, homeschooling and private education networks, underground or encrypted parent co-op teaching biological reality, evolutionary biology, and critical thinking against ideology. Agorist learning markets via mutual aid, paid tutors avoiding state licensing. Private therapy and counseling, black and gray market therapists, unlicensed or offshore, offering exploratory therapy focused on evidence, comorbidities, and distance. Crypto payments, pseudonyms, encrypted comms to evade reporting mandates. Medical counter-economics, networks preferring families to jurisdictions without bans, or medical freedom states for second opinions, smuggling information knowledge on detransition stories, CAS review data. Migration and jurisdictional arbitrage, agorist passport entrepreneurship, families relocating to freer countries, e.g. parts of the U.S. with parental rights bills or others rejecting this, or digital nomad setups with remote network. Community and reputation systems, voluntary agorist enclaves or online forums, Tor, decentralized platforms where parents share strategies, vet safe professionals, and ostracize affirm-only ideologies. Mutual defense pacts against state interference. Information warfare, Sasbanat-style distribution of evidence-based critiques, crypto-funded research and advocacy bypassing regulated charities. Family structures, strengthening voluntary extended kin or chosen agorist communities that prioritize reason over state ethics, reducing reliance on state schools, welfare that enforce ideology. These build the agorist society in the shell of the old, rendering the bill irrelevant where people opt out.
Before I was trans, none of the adults in my life really cared. They didn't really see that I was struggling. But then when I said I was trans, then they all wanted to bend over backwards to help me be trans.
I know this bright future as a man is ahead of me. I know this is the right choice.
I thought that the top surgery would be
a very large step in that direction. Like, I would feel much better.
I actually fully wanted to change my body.
The worst of the side effects really started to surface.
I think when you think of yourself as trans, you think, well, you'll just know because it'll feel right.
Richie Herron is now considering suing the NHS over allegations that he was pressured as an adult into surgery. Richie no longer identifies as a trans woman, and he firmly believes that the clinics need to be more thorough in their assessments before encouraging life-changing operations. Kira Bell was born female and transitioned aged just 16. She was prescribed puberty-blocking drugs but regretted the decision 6 years later following a double mastectomy. In 2020, she took Tavistock's gender identity service to the High Court and won. The controversial clinic has now been shut down.
It only targets abuse, not talk. Vague language plus private prosecutions, e.g. activist groups, plus police incentives predict chilling effect and selective enforcement. Distress is subjective. Non-affirmation inherently causes it under the ideology. Past UA controversies, Tavistock, Cass, show exploratory care labeled conversion. See Sex Matters analysis linked above. Protects vulnerable children. Minors lack full rational capacity. Parents are best positioned, with skin in the game, via distant bureaucrats captured by ideology. Real vulnerability includes transgenic harm from rushed affirmation. Suicide stats often conflate correlation, dysphoria with mental illness, with causation. Historical abuses justify it. True abuses, violence already illegal, conflating them with persuasion evidence-based caution is a Mount Bailey. Objectively, rapid affirmation is the novel experimental practice with weak evidence. Parental rights balanced with child welfare. In Ancap objectivist terms, children aren't property but have rights emergent with reason. Parents hold temporary stewardship. State balance is initiated of force. Better private dispute resolution, reputational costs for bad parenting. Public support. Equality. Majorities can be wrong. Objectivism rejects altruism's collectivism. Polls shift with evidence. Dissent isn't hate. It won't imprison reasonable parents. Slippery slope already evident in reports of investigation for pronounced schools. Private prosecutions amplify activist capture. GP news coverage provides further examples of the concern. This bill exemplifies statism encroachment, redefining reality by fiat, criminalizing dissent and eroding the family as a bulwark against the collective. The rational response is uncompromising defense of reason, rights, and counter-economic withdrawal from state control. Individualism must judge for themselves based on evidence, not comply. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next video.